board meeting for Monday, December 1st, 2025. If you would please stand at table and
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you very much. And Carol, could you do roll call, please?
Member Liker? Pacer?
Here.
Petroselli?
Here.
Stone?
Here.
Vitka?
Here.
Richards?
Here.
Waterman Culpa?
Here.
Greco is absent. Beck here. Palumbo?
Here.
And Liaison Han.
Here.
Thank you very much. First item, do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes from the November 3rd, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
By Wes. Discussion for corrections?
Just a typo in Trito's spelling. It's just
The first item.
TREDO first sentence. Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, I'd like to make a motion to go out of order for this agenda. For the next order of business to be 5680 East Spring Street, followed by 5813 Main Street, followed by 5365 Main Street, and finished by 5845 Main Street. Do I have a second?
One second.
Seconded by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Starting off with log 2025 PB 22 for 5680 East Spring Street. Fence permit. Can we have someone representing the property? Approach the microphone, say who you are and what you would like to do.
Good evening, I'm Tara, I'm with Lieutenant. We would like to continue the existing fence to the corner of the red house. We are concerned because it's a very secluded area and we have a lot of people crossing back and forth over from the park. We want to make sure that we can kind of make sure that anyone on our property is safe.
Does anyone have any questions?
I just have a question. The sluiceway itself is a historic piece, right?
Yes.
Is it meant to be seen on both sides or?
I'm
Originally, I mean, not
aware
originally,
of.
you wouldn't know that.
Well, my concern is that by having it open like that, people are climbing in it, and they can also access the, I don't know what you call it, but the part of the sluiceway that actually goes under Main Street. There's a big rock there, because they're always moving it, and this way, if the fence is there, and we've got cameras there, we know what's going on, but it's hard to also monitor the park. And to speak of the point that was brought up in the work session, where that sort of dip is not where the fence is going, that's further down. So it's completely level on both sides of the sluiceway, but where the fence is going.
What about the hill that's there, where the landscape is? Will the fence go up there?
So there's actually already a fence there. I don't know if it was in your packet. Carol said she put it in there. So there's an existing fence, it's a neighbor's fence, and it kind of is on that hill. It's hard to see.
Oh, it does turn the
It
corner.
goes straight and turns the corner, and that's where the hill is.
It
So
seems
it'll
like
kind
it's
of like
short of it.
Go down the rest of the hill.
Oh, I didn't give you the new one.
So
Sorry.
it'll be the same type of fence, it'll just continue to the corner of the building.
And then the broken section on your neighbors, they own that?
It is there a broken section in the photo?
I have the photo right there. I
Our
just-
landscaper took out a tree, repaired the neighbor's fence, and then the repair blew down. So they're coming back this week, hopefully.
Oh, so you'll take care of it?
Repair it again.
Yeah, it had a new panel, a new picket in it. Got it. Thank you. That's all my questions.
So same material as the fence, it's all wood, post on your side, same top feature, and it's 6 foot to match existing.
That's the continuation of the existing thing. We're excited about it. We put in all the landscaping.
Does anybody have any other comments, questions? Okay, then I'll make a motion for log 2025 PB 22 for 5680 East Spring Street fence permit to approve as submitted, seeing that the HPC had already approved, or had already given a certificate of appropriateness on November 18th, 2025 for the action. Do I have a
What
second?
day was that again? I'm sorry.
November 18th, 2025. Do I have a second? Seconded by Wally, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Okay, moving out of order again to the sign application for Insure One, log 2025 PB 20 for 5813 Main Street. You could re-identify yourself for us and explain your new application.
Kurt Eden, Crystal City Sign. So the revisions to the application are just addressing the concerns you guys had and the changes you requested. What they are happy to do is they're gonna add a backer painted the same color as the wall, which is like an aluminum tan, just deep, surrounding the entire sign. Painted the same color as the wall, and they also eliminated the illumination from everything but the letters Insure One, which they will light. And with this, with the backer, we can install with just a few anchors into the mortar, and that'll be it.
Okay, so Insure One is the only thing with the halo light now.
Correct.
And then do you have a Kelvin temperature on that?
If you have a requirement, we can go with, I mean, typically it's 6,500 or 7,100, we can go with, but they've got lots of
I
options.
can tone that down, right? So.
Yeah. You have a
Like maybe
5,000?
Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
Okay,
And then the sign that's getting removed, the brown key, all individual letters with penetrations, how is that going to be treated?
So what we're gonna do is just gonna remortar the holes where they went in, because there's studs on the back of the plastic letters that go into the mortar. We're just gonna remortar those spots and then repaint the brick the same color. The landlord gave me the information.
and then did you decide where you're painting? Because we talked about this last time.
It's gonna look like new. If it's not, if I can't just touch up the spots, we're gonna paint the whole wall. Just from break to break, so we'd probably stop at that brick line at the top.
This is also not meant to include, tonight's action is not meant to include the window signs, right?
The window signs are still within the jurisdiction of the sign officer.
Okay.
As is the temporary sign.
Is it considered a cabinet, a sign, or a panel?
It's their channel letters hand mounted on an aluminum pan.
Aluminum pan?
Yeah.
One piece?
It's got welds on the back. It looks like it's one piece. It's formed around, like, there are welds on the inside of it, but from the exterior, it's all one piece.
Doesn't always look like one piece, so what assurance can you give us?
It's a single piece of aluminum on the outside, and if there are any seams, which in this case there aren't because of the size, but they're filled, sanded, and painted. The outside is gonna look seamless.
So it's a one sheet of aluminum on the exterior face.
On the back.
So up there,
Okay.
the front there will be one piece,
Yes.
the back is the women's piece.
And what's the
You're not
thickness?
gonna, there's no visible piecing. It's all on the inside as well.
Okay.
But the finished work is all uniform without any visible seams.
Okay, because it's an aluminum panel. So the face is one piece and then it's
Yes.
on, okay.
And it's on the front.
Okay.
That one, in the back.
I'm noticing on the notes, it says, aluminum face is painted white. Is that, and we're looking at a sign picture that seems like it's the color of the building now.
Well, I-
Insure
I- I
One
have
is the
it.
white, right?
Yes, the lettering is what they're
The
referring to
lettering?
there.
Okay. Okay. And is it a color match to the brick color?
The backer will be, yes, it'll be painted with the same color That's the William is providing it to Mike.
Anybody else, any other questions? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve log 2025 PB 5813 Main Street for a signage application for Insure One with the following modifications and clarifications. That the 2-inch deep aluminum panel sign will be painted to match the building. That the previous sign, after it is removed, the building will be repaired with appropriate materials and then repainted to match existing in the area of the previous sign, unless it is determined that it is visually distinct from the existing building, in which the west facade will be repainted from grade to the underside of the window trim. The Insure One text of the sign will be the only halo lit portion of the sign, and the color temperature will be a maximum of 5,000 Kelvin. Is that a second?
I'll second.
Who's second?
David.
David, any other discussion? Other than another clarification that the sign will be centered on the west facade.
Correct.
I'll do it.
I'll resecond.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Safe drive back. Okay. So
Over here, we'll do-
2 and 3, moving back
yeah.
to the first page of the agenda. Law 2025 PB 12A for architectural review and 2025 PB 12S for site plan review for 365 Main Street, Rose and Road.
I'm here with Brian Pecos from the Resumes Office.
So I have it, as soon as I get the check,
Engineer.
I'll send it to you.
Just to update you, since the last time you were here, I know you're all well aware because I listened to the ceremonies. And the zoning board of appeals has a request. I asked for 2 separate variances. One was to keep the door on the side of the building, and we're moving it to the front. That was denied. And the second variance request was on the transparency issue. As Mr. Colombo indicated earlier, our plans called for approximately 25% in transparency, and the zoning board of appeals made a finding that the benefit to the applicant exceeded the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood, and therefore they granted that transparency variance. So I thought it might be beneficial just to go down the recommendations that we received from Gary in connection with his report. I'll go through them very quickly. Most of them.
Can I clarify, Jeff?
Sure.
Just to clarify, because I didn't have time to do a new review letter, I gave them a copy of my staff report, which does not include the draft resolution for your consideration, for your use and consideration.
So the recommendations, the report that I have lists 6 different recommendations. The first one, that approval in accordance with 112-16J for outdoor dining be obtained from code enforcement officer prior to commencing. Of course, we agreed with that. Next one had to do with signage, and that we would proceed with the village building and zoning clerk with respect to the signage when we have that completed. That's fine. Number 3, prior to issuance of the final stamped approved plans, building height and building footprint dimensions be added to the elevation drawing of the site plan. And of course, we agree with that as well. Number 4 needs some explanation, and I'll read it. That prior to issuance of the final stamped approved plans, the handicap access aisle and safety railing be reversed to provide safe access into the front entrance. We have had discussions with Gary in connection with that, and I'm going to let Mike Metzger go through the analysis that we discussed with Gary to indicate why we don't think that that's appropriate. Number 5, the prior to issuance of the final stamped approved plans, the comments of the village engineer in his November 21st, 2025 report be addressed, and that had to do with the grease trap calculations. We will provide those as well. And the second item in that engineer's report had to do with the encroachment of our neighbor's driveway onto our property. And that gets us into number 6, with respect to the landscape plan, that prior to approval and issuance of the final stamped plans, the landscape comments be addressed on the site plan. So I'm going to let Mike take care of 4 and 6. And then, obviously, if you have any questions for any of us at any time, we'll be happy to try to answer.
Real quick though, you said, the neighbor's property with the driveway, which neighbor?
On the east side.
So like
So,
Cheesy Chick?
Yes,
Okay,
the side where the garbage enclosure is. That's
yes, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mike, well, you-
Good evening. For the record, my name is Michael Metzger with Metzger Civil Engineering, B245 Sheridan Drive, Williamsville. The 2 items that Jeff wanted me to talk about were, first of all, the handicap access aisle and its relationship to the front door. Because this is an existing site with existing paving that we are not changing, other than putting in some concrete here and there, we're dealing with an elevation difference in the front of the building. The area where the handicap space is, that you can see there on the screen, the handicap symbol within the parking space, the difference in elevation from that point to the front door, or the door elevation, which has been relocated. It's in the front now as opposed to on the side. There's over a 2-foot elevation difference. So what we have to do there is we have that sidewalk. You can see the crosshatch area. Inside of that, in between the crosshatch area and the building, is actually going to be a sidewalk which carries the elevation from the west side of the building around the front to where the door will be now. And that allows for a level entry into the building. But if you were to exit the door and head immediately north, you've got that, right where the sidewalk ends, it's about a 15-inch elevation drop. So that obviously doesn't work for handicap accessibility. So that's why we had to put in, along that sidewalk that I described, a railing, first of all, with an elevated curb, and then that matches down to where, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the site, but if you can see where the outside seating area is in the plan, if you're familiar with that area there is where everything comes together and the grades match. Now, from that point, if you would come out the front door and walk on that sidewalk heading west and then heading south, and you come around where the end of the railing is, maybe it's easier. I'm trying to describe things up there. Come out the front door, and then you come down the sidewalk. This is where the railing is and the elevated curve. Then you meet the elevation that's here. If you start coming down this way, once you get to this point, the elevation drops significantly. So we had to do this in order to meet the required handicap accessibility maximum slope to get into the front door. So while it's not the best scenario, under the circumstances of what we have here, it works. So that,
Your drawings show two different door swings, so which is it?
let's see, actually, I'm trying,
Can't be what's on that drawing,
okay,
because how will you get out the door?
well, that's probably because it doesn't make a difference from an architectural standpoint, you get the door swing shown like that. Inappropriate. Okay, so, come out this way. Yeah, the door swing's there. Okay. We can make an adjustment for the plan.
Still, do you have enough, clearance? What's the dimension there? Is it a landing?
5 feet.
It's 5 feet.
Right.
So did you consider moving the accessible, parking space and striped area to a different location after you realized that you had to basically block off the front entrance
Well, the
from the
distance,
accessible parking spot?
we looked at that, but the distance is not that much different from an access standpoint, plus it keeps all of the movements for the handicapped person on this side of the drive lane, the side of the drive lane where the building is. And we could move it over here, but you're crossing and it doesn't really say much in distance.
Like you exit the van, if you exit the van into the striped area, it's not that far. If you change it anywhere else, it'd be further.
So I think a grading plan would really help, right? Because, I mean, I can see on Google Maps, what it looks like and experience it, but a grading plan would really help us out here.
Well, we're not proposing any grading, and we have submitted topographic surveys, so if you wanted to take a look at the elevations, you can see them on the.
We didn't have a topographic survey in our,
It would have gone to you with the first review as part of the original submittal.
That railing's not shown on our elevations, right?
it wasn't part of the first plan,
Right.
as I remember.
That's what I wrote here. So we're piecing it together from your description. Personally, we don't have a render, right? 3D rendering of any kind for this project.
I don't believe so.
It's a lot of money to spend on a project without for us to review from. Personally, and I'm trying to understand how the siding works, the architectural questions, the siding works with the block, and how that will really look in life. And I feel like we're shorting ourselves by not being able to see it only in an elevation. Personally.
You brought, samples, you brought it last time. too.
Correct, yes. I brought them back, but it's the same materials as last time.
Great, you wanna put those up here? That'd be awesome.
Place in particular, you'd like to view them?
Again, floors that I need to touch them, or?
So, this is the siding. They don't make the samples in every color, so it's that siding, this color. And this is when we paint the dark gray on the paint that you see for the block.
Yeah, probably give it a where, and then we'll come back to maybe.
So on your elevation,
Right. Yeah.
Same, that's.
I know.
Pull up the elevation.
oh, here we go. So you see the siding is just the horizontal lines, and then the exposed block is what is being painted that.
Right. That.
Yes, the siding is this
That's
color.
what
So the mansard shingle is all gone, right? Now it's a flat box.
Correct, yeah. we're
How
not-
does this going to me, without seeing it, this is where I'm struggling. There was a choice to take the metal down and around and then back up. And is that a design move?
Yeah, it's a design.
For
It's so you can incorporate the sign up in front of the building.
sign, okay, so we can expect the sign to be there. Not-
No.
Yeah,
Right, no.
yeah, we don't have a signage plan, right? That is where the sign is going. that's what we're going to be planning on proposing with this sign.
And then what's the relationship between the wavy metal and then the edge detail that cuts around the block? You know, how, is it all, can't be in the same plane?
It's all pre-manufactured. So the entire building is an existing block. So
Yeah,
the
I
siding
know
is
that.
gonna be coming off of it, and it's all, pre-manufactured. They've got, trim and stuff that'll go on the top and bottom. So you can kind of see it cuts around in that drawing.
So like, those are corner boards on either side of the.
Exactly. It's trimmed out, if you think of like vinyl siding, how they have.
Right, and that's that's really what I'm afraid of. Especially the mitered corners and the trim parts that are, oftentimes just really not good for us. But, so I'm just, the corner boards have a little beef to them, the cornice has a little more beef to it, and then you've got the trim detail that cuts around, up and down and around the block, and then the storefront and all that, so. Just don't know what that.
There are details of that in your packet
Okay.
of how that corner piece all fits together. It's all part of the same system. ATAS, ATAS, ATAS is the manufacturer. So there are details in it should be in the back of our semester drawings.
No.
Can I approach you?
Do we have, updated?
Yeah. Let's see how big it runs that.
November 17th, we got 2 sheets from Silvestri, A201 and A202.
It actually
Planning board
has
took
less
it.
notes on this one, because I wanted to address that. The new submission has less notes.
It was supposed to be a full lot.
And I'm actually not seeing the topo. I'm looking back at his.
Is that just the elevation?
Just give Casey what we got. We got stamps. I have the plans received July 11th, which have more sheets than what was resubmittal in November. You're asking for it, right?
Yeah, I said everything. I said the entire.
This is July.
This
This is November. What did you give to him?
I gave them the stuff we received in July. What we received in November was just these 2 sheets. And the site plan sheet.
It would be if it's on our drawing.
Yeah, but I received it.
November 17th was the sheets I reviewed.
Yeah. This is all I got.
Bad documents from July here.
Yeah, these are from July.
This one, right here.
Mhm. Yeah, these are from July.
This is all that you really have.
Yeah, there's just a,
Oh, so this is from 6/23, and we got these in July.
That's just-
So like, we still don't have dumpster enclosure. You still don't have, there's, because you have the same owner, you're having cross traffic between the neighboring sites as you go west. and this site. So probably a set of stairs or something to, because as the owner said at the last meeting, they were at two different elevations. So we would send it between the two, because you're doing shared parking already, whether you know or not. Because the parking lot's often, filled at your site, from people next door, which is under the same ownership.
You're saying the property to the west?
Property to the west, we were told at a previous meeting is owned by the same owner.
It is.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And actually at that meeting, we said that people parking all the way.
Right, so we need some kind of safe access between the two, so that you'll get, or concrete steps or something right between the two. It's a significant elevation change. So we still need to see that topo survey, details for the ATAS siding.
What was that last one, please?
The details for the ATAS siding, the corners.
Okay. I want to go back to the parking issue. I don't even remember that being discussed last time. I remember the question about whether we owned it, but I don't remember any steps or shared access. There's no shared agreement. There's no document that indicates that there's any shared parking.
I don't think that, I think it was just that people parking one and the other, and there should be a safe way to go back and forth. There's no
Well,
agreement, but,
yeah, I mean.
or else
Go ahead.
put a fence up or whatever, if you don't want people crossing the line there, but.
They're mostly doing it because it's empty.
Right,
Once-
it's a
once
convenient
full-
place to park, right.
Yeah, once it's full, I don't think we're gonna have that issue.
Okay.
And I asked, when you look on an aerial, you can see almost like a worn driveway going to the back
Right,
of the
right.
fitness center. And that's where it is. And I asked if that was an access needed for the back of the owner's buildings between the property. And I think he said no. Can't remember correctly.
He did say no.
I'm looking at the topo now, I'm not seeing a significant elevation difference between the property to the west and the east.
That's what the owner told us.
I'm not seeing it here. Actually, I was just over there tonight.
Can I just look at the topo
Oh,
and take a
absolutely.
picture of it?
We have, we have the topo.
Got a full size. Here's our full size.
Great. No, that's not a topo.
Well, that's the surface about.
Yeah, that's not, you have something different, Mike?
Yeah.
Great,
Just a small version of it.
that's okay, I'll load it up.
Take the glasses up.
There's gonna be.
I think they're talking about this part. Right there, in between the parking lots.
I don't see any real drop.
Oh, you got that step there. I don't think there is much room either.
Mm-mm.
Because I've actually tried.
Mhm.
If you can read it, it's pretty small.
In the back corner, there's a. Right. Right, so there's nothing that's blocked.
Can I say something on everybody's
Sure.
contemplating? This has been going on a few months, and we only have a very limited time to get this approved. We're already past the time. So if, we're not gonna be able to do much to the corner that you're concerned about. And I really don't want that to hold up this approval, if that's the main issue. Because it's, what we're proposing is infinitely better than what's there now. And I don't want these folks to leave. I want this to be in Williamsville. They will go somewhere else. And it doesn't benefit you, doesn't benefit.
We gotta stop with the threats. That's what turns us into an I thing.
Right.
It is.
It's
We
not a-
do this
it's
all
not
the
a
time.
threat.
We do this all the
I'm
time.
asking for a compromise. That's not a threat.
And that's fine, but we're allowed to ask for architectural details.
I understand that.
So we're not doing threats from the podium today.
It's not a threat.
It is.
It's not a
So
threat.
let's
I don't
move
know what
on
you
to-
consider a threat, but that isn't it, because I
let's
can
move-
give you one if you'd like, but that's not it.
That probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah, well, let's not call it a threat then.
Of course, this board and the village wants to see an empty site with a new business that is thriving on Main
Good.
Street.
Good.
So it is a threat when you say they're gonna go somewhere else unless you give us an approval right now.
It's a fact. It's not a threat.
I think maybe the ownership, if they're in the room, they should ask Mr. Palumbo to sit down and someone else handle the rest of this. That's my advice to them. Would the architect like to come back up and talk about architectural details?
Absolutely. I have the drawings on my phone. Would you be willing
Can
to?
you give us a website maybe that we can bring up to see the architectural details?
Can I email them very quickly?
Not to me, no. I don't have access. This is not my computer.
Yeah, because there
I
was
just have, all I have access to is a PDF of the PowerPoint in here.
See, so at the end of the day, we don't have all the documents we need here. And that's just, and you're admitting as much.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's the problem. How do we get the?
I agree with
And
you
now,
100%.
and even if you send them to us now, what are we gonna do? Sit here all, and we're not gonna make good assessments?
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that.
And I can understand wanting to get the project done, honestly, I can. But then, in that case, we need the documents.
I understand.
All right, and so if you're not gonna send us the documents that we need to do this, which you've sent us in the past, but updated without sending them to us, then how would you expect us to make a good assessment?
We don't. We will send you the documents that you're looking for.
Okay, and I think that's really the heart of it, is you didn't send the whole packet.
Right.
So we don't know what changed.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm up here discussing things that I'm under the impression that you have in front of you.
Right.
And you're all confused. I 100% understand that.
So let's go through the items of what's missing, just so we're all on the same page.
Absolutely.
So topography survey, something at a readable scale. Mike, I'm sure you can help out with that.
Sure.
Perfect. New overhead doors, give us a cut sheet, please. If you're replacing the storefront, cut sheet, please. Circle model numbers, circle the colors you're choosing, what transparency you're using, any type of, films that's going on it.
Absolutely.
Just detail it out.
It's already on the
The
later sheet.
railing, I feel like, was that, I don't think we had a detail, but I don't think we had, is it a pre-manufactured, railing system?
The bollards.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay.
And there's a lot of details within the plan.
I've got one question on the railing we're talking about. Where it comes around to the front door, is it then gonna turn back into the building like it's just east of the door? Or is it just gonna end at that planter like it shows
Are you talking about the railing that we were talking about?
around the
earlier?
side, along the sidewalk?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we're seeing it on plan, but
Because
not on
that-
elevation.
It doesn't come back into the building and then there's a guard,
A
planting
planting
ladder.
bed, right, at the
To me,
same
it
level.
looks like if I'm coming out the front door and I'm going east, I might jump down through the garden and walk out that way. I'm just saying. So,
If you feel it's appropriate, we could certainly bring
okay,
that
I'll
around.
let you think about it if it should be there or not.
It will be at
Civil
the
and
same
architectural,
level. but we
Okay.
can certainly.
Okay.
Civil and architectural need to have the same information on the drawings. So the railing forward surrounding the accessible path is not the drawings. So
On the
that, and
elevations.
the elevations.
We can absolutely,
Yes.
if that's not an issue.
Okay, then you have notations for your corner details, they're just not included in this package.
Correct, yeah, it's
So you're going
spent a
to.
long time drawing those out.
And stuff that was on the old set that needs to make its way over to the new set. Just notes like new overhead door, new man door, new exit door,
Yeah, absolutely.
things like that. And for clarification, there's no lighting on this building, no new exterior lighting on the building, and there is no lighting on the site. So there's no lighting in this package.
Well, there's no site lighting.
There's no sight lighting, there should be
There are no drawings on the elevations.
No, like,
That's not the newest one. This is the newest one.
Okay. Yep, that's on the elevation.
So you do want lighting.
We do, yeah, so it's, I mean, I can describe to you, but they'll be on the elevation.
So give us a cut
Yeah.
sheet of the lights,
Got it.
show them on the elevations. So there's no site lighting though.
That's correct. It's
Okay.
all off the building.
We also need demo. We need something to identify that the old pole sign is going away. So we don't have a demo drawing. That would probably be helpful. So we're clear about what landscaping stays, what is being demolished. Let's talk about the landscaping as the screen. So in our code for MU, we talk about multiple layer screening. Right now, I think you have spheres, you have like 5 of them along the sidewalk. We're looking probably for a multiple layer screening effect for that side parking lot. So we don't need to rehash it tonight, but it could include a small brick wall with some plantings in front of it.
Which area? are you talking
Where?
about?
The new screening right there, those spheres right there, yep.
Right.
Yep. So look at our design standards for MU districts, there's a whole thing on parking lot screening. That would probably help you out a lot more.
So is that in addition to what Gary asked about adding some deciduous trees and things, or is that the same thing?
That is in the easement, I believe, for the deciduous tree, one for the property,
There was a couple,
and I think that goes
There's
through.
3 trees that Gary suggested be added.
he had 2 deciduous trees adjacent to the Main Street driveway. And then one. at the
that's
parking
all,
lot.
that's all on site.
Right.
The landscape plan needs a legend. There needs to be, we're missing a tree in the parking lot terminal, we're missing 2 trees, on the Main Street frontage, and a note for protection. And then there's the question of what's going on around the dumpster enclosure. There seems to be a dumpster, with plantings, but it's also parking, and parking spills over from the neighboring property, so needs to be some clarification there.
Gary, does the environmental advisory committee have to look at this?
I did not send this to them at that time, when this started in July, I did not have those thresholds, so I did not send it.
Does it meet the threshold?
As I understand them now, it does.
The project just needs to be above 35,000, is that what it's on? Yeah, so this is well above 35,000.
So it needs to go to EDHC.
I don't know when they meet. If you want to refer it to them, that's something new. I did not, when we started this project, I had not sent it. I wasn't gonna bring it up at the end.
So the grease trap, anything above grade or is it all at grade?
It's 4.
Okay, and it's below grade, is there a cap that comes right off? So it's in the grass area,
Right.
and then what are we gonna see? Is it a concrete
You'll see a cover. I'm not sure whether it's concrete or not, but you'll see a cover.
So that'll be secured.
Yes.
I just want to make sure it doesn't pose any kind of hazard in its location. And if it needs to be screened, if it is visible.
The only thing you would see would be a cast, so. I'm not sure.
But it's gonna be flush with the ground.
Yes.
So it's just gonna look like either a manhole cover or a
Right.
concrete pad that's just
Right.
down in the ground.
Right.
And can we continue the landscaping across the entire front of the building rather than it looks like it's stopping? You can see the old land.
It does go across the front.
Oh, I'm looking at old land too, okay. So we identified the apron is cracking. So that should be taken care of as part of this project. Of course,
Just because I'm interested in the animal. When I look at this drawing, it looks like the door's going
I'm sorry,
the door, the main entrance.
the swing?
Swings wrong way.
Yeah, we talked about that. That'll be adjusted.
Where would the actual handicap parking space be? Because you see, you see the-
You want me to show you here?
Yeah,
Okay. In the front.
so this, it's here,
Yes,
to get into your building.
right.
you go to that, and then
Well, the access aisle is there. Yeah, we just discussed that a little while ago, and then this is how you get in because of the elevation difference here.
Well, I understand, you know, okay, no, this, but what I'm suggesting is.
Well, we talked about that as well, and the distance is about, it's really the same. I mean, if you put it on this side versus having it here, plus having it on this side, on the building side, the maneuverability of someone who is handicapped would all be on the safe side of the driveway, as opposed to having to cross the driveway. So, if the distance is the same, I vote for the safety.
Much appreciated.
so if you were to access, let's say where the grease interceptor was, and you were to put some type of accessible route from the accessible parking spot just east of it towards the building, would you be able to do that? Because I don't have a topo, so I can't see.
Well, the elevation difference, it drops, from the front. The site, this area here is pretty much all at the same elevation. There's a little bit of elevation difference, but not much. This is where it drops. So whether you're dealing with that to get in here going this way or doing that, you're gonna have some distance. And quite frankly, I think aesthetically, it's better over here.
It also feels safer because you stay interior to the handicap space as opposed to going out to where the parking lot.
No, I'm talking about take the striping, the accessible route that leads to the parking lot strip that leads to the concrete accessible route. Talking about putting that up at the accessible parking space, running perpendicular to Main Street from the parking space to the building. I don't know what the distance is there. Is that
Too much of an elevation drop. We'd be fighting the same elevation that we're fighting here. Whether we're fighting it here or there, we're still fighting it. We need distance. We need distance to flatten out that slope. So we would have to come down here to the east and then flip around and come back. It would probably be about the same amount of distance.
Well, since you've already got a switchback, why not put one up front?
Well, just because we think it's better over here. We're starting to mess with all the landscaping and everything up here. What are you gonna do with the landscaping? I mean, sometimes there's two different ways of looking at things and they're almost exactly the same.
Sure, they're equally bad.
Well,
We're dealing with an existing building and we're trying to make something good out of it. Unfortunately, bringing this door to the front is bringing down a lot of this. But the ZBA felt otherwise, so here we are.
so where do we stand?
So we've gone through a lot of what we feel is missing. You have the staff report. Let's talk architecturally again about this ATAS siding. So you mentioned earlier that the reason behind taking it from the top of the building to all the way down was to create a signage panel.
Signage panel and just as a design element to break up the, all that block on the front.
Because we're seeing a really big sign then in there. Are you expecting the sign to need a variance or a waiver?
Undetermined at this time.
The sign can only be 50 square feet.
Right, so what is, we've got, let's see, this is, it's still on here, I can't read this.
5.5 by 5.5.
Yeah, 5,
6, say 6 by 6, 36, 33.
7 by 7 be 49.
Yeah. So it's,
Is this the sign we're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I can't see that being larger than 7 by 7.
yeah, there is a detail on here that's got dimensions. It looks like 5.5, but we'll say 6 just to
Be safe.
be safe. So, see, you're well under 50, or
Yeah.
a bit under 50.
that's the,
The detail.
yeah, it's 5, it looks
No,
like
you
5 feet 6 inches by 8.
So I think what would be helpful, although it's an existing building, is for you to dimension the elevations so that you can understand what percentage is block, which percentage is
Yeah, we can,
ATAS.
we can, so you just want, not even just height dimensions, but dimensions of all the, you know, the siding and all of that. Absolutely.
And then feel free to bring your samples one last time.
You got it. Just want to leave my car.
Especially in this one.
And if you get a trim sample, this may help.
I can see if they can send me a trim sample, that would help.
And then I think we talked about coping at the last one, but it's looking pretty puny. Like, is there anything that we can do? The ATAS isn't the prettiest thing in the world, right? It's not a material that's used at all in our village as an exterior feature. Not that this block is either.
Yeah.
But it's not a material that's used, right? The mansard roof fit in better with the village character than this, right? Because the McDonald's had it, and we've got some other buildings. I'm not saying it's pretty. I'm saying it fit in with what the village aesthetic is. This material is something that's being introduced to our village that is not used anywhere else. So I'm throwing that out there for you. It's food for thought.
That sets a precedent too.
It does, especially at the pedestrian grade, right? It's. But you were given a variance, so now it's the material that we have to look at. So it's, as far as, you aren't required to put glazing there, but is this the material that's appropriate here?
Just to clarify, you agree that the ZBA did not grant a variance regarding the material?
No.
Okay.
it just
The only thing they granted a
transparency.
variance for was the
Transparency, right.
the amount
As far
of
as we
glazing.
knew, for the last couple months, we'd be seeing glazing here and more storefront, and now we're not. So now we have to be okay with sheet metal being on the front of buildings. It's a pretty sheet metal, but it
I'll let them
does
know
it
now.
does it fit pedestrian scale village of Williamsville? Anybody else have any comments, questions?
I guess maybe address what's going on between the east and west property line too. What's the plan there for this parking lot that's over the line and walking back and forth, if that's even an issue or whatever. It keeps coming up, this list. The owner can make a statement about what their plans are.
At the present time, the only thing that I see it has an impact on is the item that Gary brought up in his comments, and that relates to the dumpster enclosure.
Okay.
The dumpster enclosure itself is a wall. What's there now is a wall that is made of the same material as the siding on the building. It covers the back and the side. And actually, just before I came over here tonight, I measured it. It's 62 inches high. And then just for the heck of it, I went over next door to Hampton Inn and I opened up their dumpster enclosure and I measured the dumpster. And the dumpster, typical dumpster's got the doors in the front that are like this, and it comes up to a peak and then it drops off a little bit. I measured to the top of that peak, 64 inches. So the dumpster, utilizing something similar to what a large hotel like the Hampton Inn uses, would be covered by that wall.
Okay.
But I understand it would be nice to have some landscaping adjacent to it. What we did show is some landscaping along the one side of it, the south side. And then we did show it incorrectly. We should not have shown it on the east side because of the fact that there is that drive lane there for the property next door.
Right.
And that would really wreak some havoc with the accessibility for the whole back of that property if we took that out and put the landscaping in. Because the asphalt actually comes right up to the back of the building. It comes right up to the back of that dumpster enclosure. So it would be virtually impossible without having a major impact to that property next door to take that out.
So actually, the owner's being generous to the neighbor, is what he's. Just kind of, that's what it is, and we'll keep going with it.
Right. There's 16 feet between the two buildings.
Okay.
And it's all asphalt. It's a pretty substantial parking lot in the
Yeah,
back
that's
of
okay,
that building, so there's a lot of movement.
Right, yeah, there's a lot of cars in there.
Yeah. So what we're suggesting there is leaving the landscaping that we're showing on the south side. Clearly not having it there. And with the height of that wall and the fact that it meets, it's the same siding as the building, doesn't seem out of character.
You just provided detail.
Just put a note.
Is that what we're doing, painting block?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Anything else?
We were gonna complete that.
So is there a motion for approval? Anyone care to make that? No, seeing none. I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Hold on. Log 2025 PB 12A and S for 5365 Main Street, Rose and Bloom, due to a lack of required drawings and information. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, good night. Take care.
Okay, and last on the agenda for this evening is 2025 PD 16A and S for 5845 Main Street, Laser.
Hey, Mike. Mike. I think I gave you one. I gave you one. I think I gave you one.
Oh, what's that?
That's a total, yeah. I think I gave you one.
Oh.
Or you know what?
Oh, right. Did you give me that something?
I probably gave you your site plan.
Okay, if you'd like to introduce yourself? Yes, please.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Dave Sutton from Sutton Architecture. Here today to present for architectural and site plan approval for 5845 Main Street. And we did have the opportunity to present in front of this board a couple of months ago for sketch plan review. Got a lot of good information and took it back to help us and assist us in giving further information on the drawing, as well as refine and define some of the improvements that we're proposing. We also did have an opportunity to go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals to request for several variances, which I'll get into in a little bit, as well as the Environmental Advisory Committee. So just give a little background about the project for some of the new members, as well as to refresh everybody's kind of understanding of the project. We're proposing a 2,100 square foot single-story addition on the west side of the existing building. That is to accommodate the new program and use for this building. Plan is to renovate and repurpose the existing building and be complemented with the addition that we're proposing this evening. It's important to note that we had no intentions of moving, changing, modifying the existing parking lot on this project. But as a result of our sketch plan review, we did get some recommendations from this board of maybe some enhancements that we could take advantage of the opportunity. And we did implement those. One of the suggestions was to shift the parking, handicap parking spaces over a bay, identify or define a clear path that was not dependent on the public right of way. We took that one step further, and we are adding sidewalks and replacing existing sidewalks. And every one of the sidewalks on this property will be heated sidewalks for safety and for maintenance purposes. And then we introduced or relocated the dumpster enclosure. There was actually no dumpster enclosure on the property. It was located in the hatched area in the corner of the parking lot. We have since relocated it to get a better and clearer defined entrance and access to that dumpster enclosure. And we are providing for an enclosure to also screen and give a visual barrier of that dumpster, which will be on site. I know in the pre-meeting there was some conversations regarding the lighting. It is all existing lighting. We have no known concern there. It's all about the outside perimeter. There's existing lighting. We intend on painting the poles and upgrading it. There was concern maybe about the 0-foot candles and level of illumination. We are proposing it to be existing, but we're not opposed to replacing the heads on those light standards to ensure compliance with deflectors, dark sky compliance, and getting us adequate coverage for safety. There was also discussion about possibly providing a lighting plan. Very difficult, if not impossible, to do with existing lighting. But if we do and are a part of this approval suggested to replace those lights, we could provide that as a formality documenting dark sky compliance, 0-foot candle at property line, and the proper number or level of illumination at the surface for safety and accessibility. There is further discussion on landscaping. We do have in this package a suggestion of different landscaping we are going to be proposing along various areas of the building. We are trying to preserve as much as we can of the existing landscaping. However, much of it is past its life and very challenged. But we do have some landscaping. But most importantly, we are going to provide adequate screening for the equipment that is going to be located in the alcove associated with the existing building on the east side that Gary is pointing out right now. And we are going to provide adequate screening for that, as well as provide a series of ground covers and window planters on the west elevation of the building to help pedestrian-friendly environment on the sidewalk on both ways. as well as some additional landscaping enhancements at the front elevation. I might also add that we are proposing a small vestibule addition. You can see it in the hatched area on Main Street. And that is to provide two things, one of which is a more functioning and usable entrance, but also to help spruce up the front of the elevation as well as bring the building into compliance with the required setbacks. So that being said, once again, brief description of our ZBA meeting. We went to the Zoning Board of Appeals for 4 variances. One was to propose a single-story structure as opposed to the minimum of 2 stories required in the MU district. We were successful at getting that variance, suggesting that it's an existing 1-story building and it'd be most appropriate that the addition be 1 story and not overpowering of the existing structure. Second of which is the first floor height is a minimum of 15 feet. Once again, new construction, very appropriate. We would have put a 15-foot high addition onto an existing building. It would have been overpowering and taking away from the original building. What we are proposing to do and got the approval from the ZBA is to match the eave lines up and make the addition look as compatible and complementing as possible to the existing structure. Third variance was transparency. It's important to note that there was a lot of discussion about transparency. The Zoning Board of Appeals was very concerned about transparency on Main Street, and we asked for the ZBA to not include the variance for Main Street, and that we would in fact comply to the transparency requirement. And you'll see in the updated elevations that we do have a 70% transparency compliance on the Main Street portion of this building, addition and existing. And the variance was acquired for the full side, and the variance for that was suggestive of the window, the placements are all exactly where the existing punched openings are in the existing building. And it's also, due to the nature of the building, we are in fact required to have some privacy because of the physicians and treatment rooms and whatnot. So the board was, Zoning Board of Appeals was very understanding of the benefit that we would gain to be exempt from the transparency on the full place elevation only. And we've successfully got that variance. Item number 4, there was some discussion in terms of the front yard setback. The code requires a 0 to 10 setback. And obviously, if we were to propose or meet or comply to that, the addition would be projected way out in front of the existing building. There is a provision in the code that allows for a 20-foot setback from the street as long as a public amenity is provided. So during our discussion with the ZBA approval, we actually are suggesting that we would be providing that public amenity in order to justify not only the fact that the vestibule addition does bring us into compliance with the building as a whole, but Mr. Palumbo's review is he reviewed both of those additions as 2 separate, and the addition, the substantial or the main addition, the furthest point was 33 feet from the road, and that's where we got the variance. It's the understanding that we are going to be providing a public amenity, and the ZBA actually suggested that we ask for the advice of this board. That public amenity, we were proposing some type of bike rack or community bench, and we are open to both or whatever this board might suggest for a recommendation for that public amenity. So
That would be in the area between 20 feet or from the building up to about 10 feet.
Correct.
10-foot setback,
Mhm.
or essentially behind the vestibule.
So once again, curb cuts, surface area of the parking lot have remained unchanged. Drainage remains unchanged. We did a lot of enhancements based on the recommendation of this board, based on the Environmental Advisory Committee. And we have, I think, really done a big step forward of taking this existing parking lot, enhancing it to the best of our ability. And the architectural part of this project. If you could, Gary, move up to the next one. Once again, we are proposing a 3-foot water table of brick that would match in size, shape, and texture of the existing. And the whole building is to be painted. We do have a sample board or a storyboard here, which I think shows a very successful color palette, use of quality materials, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But from the 3 feet up would be a wood look material, a maintenance-free wood look material, accentuating the windows in a trim, mullions in the windows, once again, and further enhanced with window boxes. If you look, you'll see window box on every other window. We felt that every window, it might get a little repetitive and monotonous. So we chose to do it every other window, and we are going to be complementing that with some ground cover. That would be the 3 foot of brick would be the backdrop. And then in between every window, you will see a wall-mounted, wall-washing light fixture. And we do have a cut sheet of that indicated on some of the paperwork that's been submitted, as well as a picture sample. One important note about that is the light fixture that we are picking for full place are literally this, wall washers. You don't see the light source at all. You actually just see the effects of the light. So that right there, as you can see this arrow, that is the actual wall sconce that's going on the light to give a really nice soft light and accentuate the building itself, the texture, the materials, and the color scheme. So Gary, if you could scroll down just one more at the, oh, sorry.
Excuse me?
Could you go the other direction? There you go. So at the back elevation, we're actually gonna put some gas light features to just highlight those. Not overpowering in any way. You know, the existing covering there is going to be enhanced a little bit, but we aren't changing anything major with the existing building, other than color scheme, as well as some accessories, such as wall sconce and light fixtures. So that being said, I'll be glad to answer any questions regarding the site plan, as well as the architectural review portion for this addition.
The colors on the outside is mostly that charcoal black, right? Is that the same for the window planter boxes? Is everything, is there any tone on tone? Is it all just?
Yeah, there's going to be a slight contrast, a tone on tone. And our intentions are to really, as you may or may not, but I'm sure you know, the building is currently all painted brick, painted in green. We really, it's not a bad looking building, it's a good looking building. We think that painting it in this dark color will accentuate those details. We may use a tone on tone. If the board would like to see something more contrasting, we're definitely open to it.
I just wanted a clarification.
The contrast is actually going to come from the vegetation
Right.
in the plant, right? The plantings, and I think that's really the rich contrast we're looking for, is those vibrant colors and the greens, which will be seasonal and varying up against a darker backdrop.
The one corner in the back of the parking lot is Xed off. Is that just gonna be blacktop Xed off back there, or?
Yeah, it's existing blacktop.
Right, yeah.
And we anticipate probably using that for snow storage and leaving it there. Once again, it used to house the dumpster, but it just kind of sat there. It was very appreciated, and once again, the sketch plan review to reevaluate and move that, so guaranteeing its accessibility and take the opportunity to screen it.
If I may add, there is some natural screening in that back corner now anyways. There's a little tree with some nice growth and some other plants, and we'd just be enhancing that.
Did you say that you would, not drawn, but right there where the cursor is the sidewalk will go 2 full on the back side of the building?
So that was discussed in the review, that obviously you have to have all entrances connected to the public sidewalk. We are not proposing that right now because that is an employees only entrance, and we didn't think it was appropriate. We would feel it to be more appropriate with the landscaping, especially in conflict to the tree that's there that we're gonna try to preserve. We would be willing to put a sidewalk to full if this board felt it to be a critical part of site plan approval, but we are not looking to highlight that back door entrance because it's exclusive for employees only.
A small thing, along the property line with, was it 58, 51, there's a series of black and white bollards. Are you keeping those or?
Those bollards are actually located on the adjacent property. They will be maintained. And obviously we respect the neighboring property, and obviously I don't know if they were put there for a reason, if you know what I mean? I think at our sketch plan review, there was some conversation that the bumper stops were kind of all over the place, and the plow guy might have rearranged them. And I think it's kind of too, because the building has been empty, and when a plow guy's plowing an empty building lot, he's not paying as much attention.
Yeah.
I can assure you, when this building is occupied and my client takes over, they're gonna have a much higher standard, not only for themselves, for their patients, clients, as well as for the general public.
So you're gonna maintain the curb, you're gonna add on or maintain the curbs in all those parking lots, but the bollards belong to next door.
Correct.
Kind of strange, but okay.
Is the fence on the property line? Is it on the
Fence
neighboring
to the
property
south.
line? Yeah.
Fence to the
It's
south.
not clear from aerials or the field where
Yeah.
that fence is.
Yeah, if you look at the note right in the middle of the parking lot right there, that says existing wood fence to remain, it's actually located 2 feet into the property. So that is our fence, and it's actually 2 foot off of the property line. Not sure why that was done. We're proposing to keep it. We're more than willing to let the neighbor take advantage of that 2 feet for snow removal and whatnot. And our plan is to leave that exactly.
Do you know why the smooth side of that faces towards the office instead of the other way?
Yeah, that was talked about once again in sketch plan review, and we did a little bit of homework on it. It's obviously our fence because it's 2 foot into the property. But
It's been
I
there
have no idea.
a long time.
It's been a lot, right? Not really sure. I do know, and I don't think it was this property, there was one property on Main Street in this area that at one point in time, the neighbor who came to the meeting preferred the other side of the fence. And we did that, but I'm sure that's not this one, because that fence has been up for a while. Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit about the mature trees on Bull? I know that was
Sure
we
can.
had a lot of
Yeah.
discussion on that,
So-
how to save them.
That was a key point and a key takeaway, and it's my client's intent to do everything they can to preserve those 4 trees. And actually, we engaged with an arborist, and we actually brought him with us today. Brian is in the back, he was patiently waiting to see if you had any questions or clarification. He can probably chat a little bit about what he's intending to do to preserve those trees, not only during construction, the impacts that they might have. He also has an opinion about the fact that there are 4 trees there, but 3 are really quality good trees, and 1 is hurting a little bit. And if you want, I can have him come up, he can chat with you a little bit about the trimming, the pruning, the protecting, as well as his opinion about those.
I'd like to hear how you're gonna protect this through construction, because that's what the EAC also pointed out.
Correct, yeah. So if it's okay, if I could bring Brian up, he can chat a little bit about it, and
Since he's here.
he's been waiting here
patiently,
for a couple hours, so I'm sure he'd be mad if I didn't acknowledge him.
I'm Brian with 5 Star Tree Services. We are certified ISA arborists, so you have any questions. I inspected all 4 trees. First one being at Main Street, and the second one, or the fourth being at the end of the building. They're all maples, they're all really doing, all, maples that have been trimmed and pruned, over the years. They're going to need to be reduced on the building side. We're not gonna touch the street side, but we'll clean them out, deadwood them. They're old. They need some love. The 4th tree is on the end, that's an old ash tree.
Which one is it? So the street,
So-
Main Street's on the right.
It's gonna be at the back side of the building.
So past the driveway?
Yeah.
This
No.
one right
Well,
here.
before
Okay.
yeah, before the
Okay.
This one is the emerald ash.
That's the tree, it's sick. It's been inoculated, I'm sure, the town's been treating it. It's got a big cavity in it, it's unsafe, it's dead. That one is the only one that I would recommend to remove. The rest of the maples will clean out, the deadwood them, which means taking all the deadwood out of them. We'll prune them back, and it needs to be done before, I would say, construction starts, because you don't want to break them up. And they're all older maples, all 3 of the front trees they should be cleaned out, pruned back. I'm not talking drastic pruning.
Right, so I guess what we were worried about, at least I was, maybe 2 classes in architecture school and landscape, many years ago. The canopy, I was under the impression that the roots are under the canopy as far as the canopy above. Is that true on a maple? And
Yes and
what
no.
would happen when they
Main
start to
roots, if you're
build
worried
a
about them
foundation?
being damaged, if they're probably already going on the sidewalk. I think some of the sidewalks are even moved up. I'm not even sure. I don't
Well, I
know.
think the canopies go, I think, all the way.
Those aren't really
existing
maples. They're not huge, so as far as the impact of those trees, if you hit a main root with the construction, they're in their jeopardy. And a lot of the trees, and I'm sure you guys have all walked around the village or mill or whatever, you've seen that when the sidewalks were done by the town, they shaved the root system. Nothing like that needs to be done with these trees. That's the only thing that would really drastically hurt these trees. But these trees are all older than us. These are old maples.
I mean, unfortunately, these are pretty misrepresented on this site plan because the canopy actually goes well into where this addition is going.
It does.
So, I mean, that's
No,
not.
not the canopy. A couple leaves, a couple spars do, yes. But not the whole canopy of the tree.
I mean, I'm just looking at pictures.
Sure.
That show.
The trees are tricky when you see pictures. But there are two small leads that are gonna have to be drastically taken back, to the sidewalk area. On the front 2 trees. Starting in Main Street.
To the
working with-
sidewalk area.
Well, they're gonna need to be reduced. If you want to do a proper reduction, I would recommend a polar trim, which would be
I
just
mean,
hacking it.
these are village trees. I don't believe you can touch them anyway. So what is your solution for this? Has Chief, Villanin been contacted?
We have received, we transmitted the plans to Ben as one of the standard reviewers. He's made comments about the trees. My concern is the tree that's going to be removed must be replaced under his direction. Not under the planning board's direction. Planning board can't really approve what happens on the right of way.
Right, let me be perfectly clear. Although Brian is suggesting that the 4th tree is not necessarily healthy and should be removed, we are not proposing to remove it. We do realize that that is a village board decision, and we will be, or not village board, but a village DPW decision, and we will be protecting that tree during construction along with the other 3. And yes, the canopy is going to be cut back. We are going to do everything in our power to, during construction, protect, and and prior to construction, to do everything we can to preserve those trees. And Brian was going to be doing that under the direction of Ben, the DPW, and not without direction for his observation, direction, or assistance. So we're not going to be taking or trimming any trees. Although it is important to note that although the trees are in the right of way and we do not have the right to modify or take them down in any way, once they cross the property line, as property line owner, you do have the ability to protect and preserve and take advantage or promote your property as long as you do not destroy or kill the tree in any way. We're not gonna be doing anything without Ben's direction, but we're gonna be doing everything we need to do to ensure the preservation of those trees during construction and to make sure that they're gonna thrive after construction and when the building is fully established.
I haven't heard a plan though. I haven't heard a plan on how we're gonna do that. All I've heard is we're gonna prune them back. We have the right to chop anything off on our property. And, I mean, I don't like the misrepresentation of this on here. I mean, what are those representing? Trees that have been there for 10 years?
Well, the trees are placeholders for a tree and
Like new trees?
they're existing trees and they're
Okay.
placeholders showing where the actual trunks of those trees are. They're not
They're
trying
not to
to,
scale. I mean, we'll look at this, I mean, are those
If we were to do-
location for the existing HVAC, are those units to scale? They're about a foot by a foot?
the existing AC condenser unit.
Yeah, down here on the south.
Yep.
Or on the east, those are to scale.
30-inch diameter condenser unit.
It's not 30 inches. That little bump out is 1'6" according to your drawing.
It's approximately double the size of that. Once again, representational.
But we can't do representational, right? That's where we've gotten in trouble in the past. We need hard line drawings, right? So it needs to be accurate on the drawings. So these are 30 by 30. So it's 90 plus space in between by 30 as a grouping. That's what we're saying?
Let me ask a question. How many feet are you going to actually prune off these trees on to get them to where you need them to be?
So the pruning is going to be trimming back the tree horizontally and vertically. And one thing that's good about this is we are doing a one-story addition. And once we get above a certain height and a comfort level to protect the structure, we can let that canopy project over the building. Okay? And once again, can. And one thing that we are planning to do is Brian is very confident based on, he knows exactly where the building is going. He's the expert, and he is saying that he's very confident that he can work with the village, whether it be Ben or somebody that would be an arborist or a representative with the village to do everything we can possible to preserve those trees, and we feel pretty confident we can do that.
I mean, part of the reason we're having such an extensive discussion here for everybody else is, I mean, you heard it from the ZBA, you heard it from the Environmental Advisory Committee. It's obviously maintaining the tree canopy is really important.
Right.
Right. So that's why you're being asked all these detailed questions about how you're going to make this happen. Because, you know, nobody wants to go by and find out, you know, you trim the tree all the way back to the property
Just so
line.
you
It's
know,
really weird and lopsided.
We are not planning on pulling a utility company approach.
Well, they're certified arborists as well.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
No.
We're level 5. We actually care about what we do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we appreciate.
We're all learning.
My
just so you
question
know.
is,
I grew up on Melrose.
Can I make a suggestion? The one thing that we don't have, the landscaping's been added to the site plan. If a separate landscape plan had been prepared, it would have shown the existing vegetation, the proposed vegetation, the notes, the protection notes in detail, and a table of a planting schedule for the new stuff. We've reviewed this a couple times, we've asked for more information, and we're squeezing a lot of the landscape information onto the site plan. That might resolve some of the concerns. I just make that as a suggestion.
I have a question for Brian. So I'm just looking at the front tree on Main and Full. So the village has already taken off one large limb on the street side. It looks to me that it's only about 4 feet off of grade. So how do you handle that with the limb that is encroaching on this?
We want to make it symmetrical. We don't want to make it look like you were saying, like we can't really want to just hack it. So what we're going to do is we're not going to find that we're using aerial lift. And we can take it back to growth. You know, where we need to make it symmetrical. And I'm not trying to be rude, but the village, like the forestry department or the highway department, those aren't qualified arborists. These are guys that come in, I'm sorry.
Well, Ben Dillon is a registered landscape architect, so
Still not an arborist.
I would say.
Still not a certified arborist, but.
He does work with arborists, so
Right, I get
he
it,
does work
but-
with other arborists.
But there's a difference. It's like a doctor and nurse, same idea. When you get into trees, and I know you probably don't know a ton about them, but
I do.
it's a big
I'm an
deal.
architect as well.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yep.
My nephew's an arborist.
Yeah, so it has to be trimmed symmetrically. I mean, that tree's not, none of those trees are, unfortunately. And they haven't been cleaned out, they haven't been decorated to promote health and safety for people walking underneath them, provide them. And the last tree, the ash tree, we all know what the ash problem is around here, it's inevitable. That's the only one that I think that should be looked at, but we can even trim that back, and maybe it'll have some growth on it, maybe it won't, but they don't want to come in and hack the trees up, they just want to make it look prettier, that's all. And by doing it properly, not S1 or the grid or whoever, is bringing real guys in, we don't just hang out with chainsaws all day, we do this every day, all day, 365 days a year.
That's right. I'm Lisa DiCarlo. My husband, Dan and I are buying the building because the business line. And I think it's really important that, I hope the takeaway in what you're hearing with the trees and then bringing Brian here, I more hope the takeaway is that you're clear we really do want the trees. We're not here saying, oh, sure, we're gonna save the trees, and then, we live in Florida where Verizon just went through and, took most of the tree, half of the trees away. That's not what we want. It was a large part of how we chose to add the additional space in the building. Once you have to dig the way you've been, then going up and everything, the trees were sure to not survive the kind of trimming that would need to be done to support a second floor the way the village wants it. So from the very beginning, the trees have been important to us, and we've communicated that with David Sutton in his office, and that's been a large part of our planning. And then following our first meeting with the review, we had Brian come out and take a look, like, what do we need to do? And should we have a plan for digging the footers? Should we have this and that? So it is important to us. It's not something we're here saying it is. It has been, and it's been a large part of our planning from the beginning. So that's really all I want to say.
And I think that part of the plan, that is useful information, right? So what is the plan for the footers?
Well, to dig a footer, we're gonna do it as respectful as possible and do everything we can to not only quarantine off or strap off the things so that the machine doesn't accidentally bump into these trees. We are going to have Brian on board prior to, and then probably while we're digging, Brian is going to be available to observe the dig that we're doing. And we're doing frost depth footers under the majority of this part here. And we are being told by Brian that everything that we're doing for this addition is going to be respectfully done and under his direction to have the best possible chance of preserving not only the trees, but the quality of the trees.
So Brian, you're gonna recommend or do the work yourself with Ben's instructions. Pull back the canopy, on this property side of the tree. Now, they just said he's digging footers to the frost line. Obviously, that will impact the root system that is under the current canopy. So how does that get handled at the new footer footer line parallel to full.
How do you put the footers? I don't do construction. so-
Yeah,
Like-
well, cost and footer is 42 inches.
And technically, tree one and tree two are not, really effective.
No, they're not effective.
Tree one and tree two aren't effective. And tree three has some very substantial leaves that are dead now, that to make sure the tree is healthy and, you know, can move with us through this, yeah, that needs to be, you know, removed, also, so.
So I'm just looking for the plan, so is
Yeah,
set
so-
as a plan.
So, and I guess, you know, what I really want to drive home is, you know, we're here to propose an addition. And the addition location is pretty defined in terms of, we can't do it here, we're not doing it anywhere. And the thing that I really want to drive home is we understand and respect the need to try to preserve those trees at all costs and all expenses. And that's what Brian is doing. Does he probably can explain to you a good description of what we're planning on doing today, but at the same time, it's going to be more a process where he's going to work with the authorities and the people that you have in place to ensure the best opportunity that we all end up with the same result, and that's the preservation of these three, if not four trees. You know, to sit and tell you exactly which branch is going to be taken down today, I don't think it's fair for Brian. I think we can talk generally about cutting back the canopy, clearing out the dead wood, taking an assurance that the canopy is not going to be affected to the building, and the building is going to be minimally affecting the canopy. I can tell you the trees are very hardy. They're, as Brian said, they're older than all of us and pretty resilient. So we're not saying that when we dig our trench footers that we're not going to hit a couple of the tree branches or the root system, but we're saying that it is not going to be extremely detrimental to this, and the minimal effort with the cross footers, as well as trimming of the tree canopies and protection during construction, are all good faith efforts to do everything we can from our end to preserve these trees.
I'm just interested, so you've got a new foundation wall, and you've got roofs that are beyond that now, so do you just dig them out, and then how far do you dig them out, because they're obviously in the so how does that work?
So and I'll take this on with Brian. When we do it, we probably, hearing all the concerns, we might end up doing what they call a trench pour as opposed to a conventional spread footer. A trench pour will allow us to minimize our dig width, and that also is dependent on site conditions, but I feel pretty confident knowing the site conditions of this area that we could do a pretty successful trench pour. And that would definitely allow us to minimize the amount of root structure that would be exposed or excavated. And then Brian can tell us if there's anything we should do during that time of preserving or ensuring healthy root structure of what is going to be left and what is remaining. If we would form it, if we would protect it, I don't know. Brian can comment on that maybe about what, if anything, we need to do. But I think, once again, the addition has to occur in this location. And the good part about it is we're being told that, yes, we can, with modifications, preserve those three or four trees that are concerned.
But as a former planning board member, you know, our charge basically comes from the community plan. The existing community plan values trees at the top. So I think it's very fair for all of these boards to have such high regard and concern over the balance between our MU district and what's allowed versus, you know, the vegetation in the village, especially along Main Street and our side streets.
Right. And we couldn't agree more. And once again, I feel that our presentation today is trying to represent that we are very respectful to these existing trees. And we are very comfortable in knowing that the balance between the trees existing trees and the proposed addition can occur.
So the EAC, I believe, recommended that they be protected during construction for a minimum of 2 years worth of life. So what kind of guarantee are your clients willing to provide that, if something happens to
Well,
a tree or?
what I can tell you is if any one of these trees are, if we do lose one of these trees, obviously we're obligated to replace it, but it won't be replaced with the same tree. So our goal is to do everything to preserve that tree and the established canopy and everything. I don't know that we can sit here and guarantee that any tree in the village will be here in 2 years. But I can tell you that we're going to do everything on our end to ensure, with or without the addition, that those trees are going to survive and thrive more than 2 years.
The zoning board is the onus on the DPW that in order for their variances to hold, then they have got to be able to preserve those trees to the satisfaction of the DPW superintendent. So to me, I think that's good enough, as long as they're engaging with them, during construction about this in order to do, and that I think would also satisfy what the EAC said.
I think, and the other thing is,
What the zoning board doesn't seem to have said that the EAC did was that you should replace those, that you'd be responsible for replacing those trees if you damage them. I think we could add that.
Well, what's the diameter on those trees?
Well, I would say 25 to 32 inches roughly. That might be aggressive, but in that area. I think, yeah.
So fair to say
a bit
it's
small.
over 24 inches.
Yeah, I'd say 20 inch. Yeah.
Can I read the DPW superintendent's comment? Since he's the one that has the most control. Establish critical root zone for each tree. 1 inch caliper equals 1 foot critical root zone, and maintain tree protection within that zone. Fencing, hand or pneumatic excavation, reference ANSI 300 Part 5. So he's started a note or a plan that could be added to the site plan on what he's looking for protection. And I believe there was a previous note from him, comment during sketch plan. I was thumbing through here and I couldn't find it, where he talked about responsibility for damage, or having to replace trees in the right of way.
So if you're saying 1 foot per inch of that tree, so 20 feet from that tree.
they're saying caliper, not diameter.
Okay, so.
Well, I guess caliper.
Caliper is saying up at
I
5
think
feet over
if they're,
I'll let you work that out with Ben. The point is Ben has weighed in.
yeah.
I'm
We're
very
very
fortunate. Ben's
fortunate.
comfortable with doing what you're gonna do. He's the one that has jurisdiction
Yeah,
on it, so
We're very
that is what it is.
fortunate to have been as a village DPW. I mean, he's a lot more experienced
So then,
in the standard DPW business.
yes.
And we definitely acknowledge that Brian is going to work directly with them and take his advice and whatever we need to do to successfully do the addition and preserve those trees. We're willing to do with them under his direction and his advice.
But and that's already.
Right, but it is, so I think we're.
So, but I.
So Richard mentioned earlier, there's a step for the employee entrance. Is that necessary?
A step.
Yeah, there's a step to rename on the.
There's currently a step, it's existing.
There's
There's
a little
currently
concrete
a
pad there that,
Got the employee entrance. It's existing. We weren't doing anything to alter it. However, if there's any way we can, when replacing some of the sidewalk if we can replace that step also to provide for, I'm assuming for Richard, for a, Mr. Richard.
Yeah, Mr. I didn't say Mr.
For, I'm thinking for handicap accessibility, is that?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Okay, so the primary entrance is the obligation for handicap accessibility, and we are achieving handicap accessibility through the primary entrance. So we can look at it and see if the employee entrance can be made handicap accessible if grading allows. We will be doing that in our review, but I can assure you in terms of accessibility, we do have a path of accessibility closest to the handicap space. And will be 100%.
I see the path.
Yeah.
My question was, and I just, maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but it looks like the vestibule, where everybody goes,
The main entrance.
Yeah. It looks like it's a pad there.
No, that is going to be 100% handicap accessible. The main entrance. Are you saying in the elevation?
I mean, I'm looking at the photo.
The rendering?
Yeah, the rendering. There's a pad there.
Okay. Well, what I can do is I can, well, actually, you're looking at the rendering. That's the entrance of the rear. That's the rear entrance. That one is the front entrance, if you look up. That one, that thing there, that is accessible. So I apologize about the clarity on the rendering. But the one you're referring to is the back.
Small. I'm not going to take it for it. Okay. Sure. Your employees, someplace, somewhere, somebody.
Yep.
You should figure out a way, just go in like a road and roll it or something.
We
Get it out. That's
Right.
all.
Under new construction, we would always do that. Under existing, sometimes it's challenging. So at the very least, we do have an accessible route, which is the main entrance, which to me is more important than the secondary.
Well, both, because if you have somebody in your staff that's handicapped, needs a wheelchair, and wants to go in,
They would use
the normal way
front
would be,
entrance.
they would have to use the front.
They would,
They need to.
Yeah, but you identified it as employee entrance.
But can't you, with that new sidewalk leading up that existing concrete pad, can't you
I believe we can.
grade that up there?
Yeah, we'll just have to replace the stoop also. So if that's, like I said, we are going to reevaluate.
Okay.
I don't know if I can say that for certainty, but I can tell you with a high level of certainty that yes, we can provide handicap accessibility. I don't know the width of the stoop. We would want to make sure that all parameters, and then I might get into some other dimensional problems. But I can assure you that we are going to do everything we can to provide handicap accessibility to both entrances.
Do both entrances have automatic doors?
Neither have automatic doors. As long as you have the clearances around them, you don't need to have an automatic door. The only time you're obligated to have an automatic door is when you don't meet the clearances. 18 inches on the left side and 12 inches on the full side. I mean, I'm turning that around.
What material are the windows?
The window, the exterior are aluminum clad windows.
Aluminum clad wood?
Pardon?
Aluminum clad what?
They're aluminum clad windows, more commercial grade, like storefront windows.
And what transparency is the glass?
The glass will have low E glass with no additional tinting.
That was my question. I saw exam rooms and procedure rooms in healthcare. Just wondering if all the modest will be on the inside through window treatments.
We use window treatments out of respect to the transparency. We would be using window treatments within the building, so we comply to the transparency through the glass, but we also respect the privacy of the client.
Oh, there was in reality, there's a flagpole there. Is that gone in the front yard? I think it might be where the new way is.
Yeah, I would think that the flagpole is leaving us.
The flagpole is here.
Flagpole would be leaving us.
And the solar panels are on it.
Solar panels, the whole roof is getting re-roofed. and the solar panels with in existence. And they're near the end of their life, so to take them off and put them back on again would not be economical.
But you did say you were gonna recycle them.
Yes, we did say that. Thank you.
They were one of the first solar panels around here.
Yeah. He was ahead of his time.
The design came out really nice.
I mean, we're super
That's how
happy
you
with
did a lot of work. Okay.
how it's coming together, and thank you for that.
I like the new, the accessible parkings.
Once again, the site plan, sketch plan review was very helpful, as along with the other committees and the department reviews, really helped us along to put together a product here for you that may not be perfect because there is some existing elements we're working around, but we really did take advantage of the process and feel like we were able to end up with a much better product.
On the site plan there, the, where you're not extending the sidewalk along the south elevation to this, sidewalk there. Is there a curb missing? How does that work?
Is there a curb missing?
Is there a curb?
It's
Is
not
that a landscape bed there? It's not going across? So do you have landscape bed going right up to sidewalk now?
We have landscape bed,
On
I'm
the
sorry.
west side of the building, is that landscape bed going up to the sidewalk?
The planter area for the ground cover between the building and the sidewalk. Yes, there's about I think there's like 14 or 16 inches to the property line. Field measuring, there's actually 23 feet to the sidewalk. So we do have an opportunity for about 3 foot of low-level ground cover landscaping there to complement the window boxes that we're putting in there.
We actually had the dwarf plumbago selected. It stays green in the winter, and then in the summer it has these really beautiful sort of periwinkle blue flowers. And it's a root spreader, so it just builds in really nice.
So that last parking spot where it says existing tree remaining,
There's not a tree there, there's an old taxus. We, not being sure exactly what the clearances are there, are hoping we can duplicate what's in the front, in the back, which is the mix of the hydrangeas and the azaleas and boxwood.
okay, so you're gonna put together a landscape drawing?
If you look at, in Gary, I think you have it, it's in the package. Lisa was kind enough to take each one of the things. If you look at north side landscaping, she has it all indicated of what her intents are right there. Yeah, next one is south side landscaping, and then west side landscaping. So we have 3 sheets dedicated towards our landscaping intent and what plantings and locations for those plantings.
I don't have those in here. Other than what's on your rendering.
So if we go back, right there, those are landscaping plants.
Which was a durable, get the hydrangeas like they did this year in my yard.
Oh, did they?
The other side of the street, but the box was there.
Right.
They pretty much eat everything.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem is the boxwoods are challenged now too. And
Oh, right. Yeah, that was last
it's been a little bit of a challenge. And the Environmental Advisory Committee, we were back and forth on a lot of different things. They wanted us, even amongst them, they were kind of back and forth a little bit about now what is acceptable, what's natural to the area. One thing I can say is we do have a design here. I believe that one of the recommendations was to formalize all this and put together a landscape plan that actually gave a landscape schedule. We'd be willing to put that together in hopes maybe that we can get an approval this evening, we could follow through, or we could come back and just present that element to you.
So what about the public realm amenities?
Once again, the two public realm amenities that we've used in the past is a bike rack and/or a bench. And if the board has a preference one over the other or anything else, we could make a decision today, agree to it, and it would show up on that landscape plan and then follow up that we can submit to the village.
I mean, I think a bench fits the village.
Yeah.
Especially there.
So what we could do is put a bench on the private property, but directly adjacent to the sidewalk and respectfully enhancing or adding to the sidewalk. So it's acknowledged as a public amenity. I think a lot of too often, if you set them inside with surrounded by landscaping, people don't feel that they're approachable. So if we could recommend to do that, then once again, we can show that as a formal hardscape element in the landscape plan.
So a little concrete pad with a bench.
Yes, please.
Anybody else? Comments, questions?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I think they've done a lot here. Especially here, what started here.
You are gonna update the site plan with a legend, the symbol of symbols. You can submit that,
For landscaping.
your site plan. It's one of the comments.
I thought that was landscaping, and I think what Gary is recommending, because the site plan is so busy, that we actually do a separate landscape plan. That will be easier to identify. And yes, we will include the legend for that regarding the plantings.
I would suggest just update the site plan. We talked about really getting some detail in the dark sky compliant or whatever you're proposing to change for the site lighting.
Yes, so my question to this board is, can we reuse the existing lights, painting the poles and changing the lamps if necessary? Or is it gonna be a requirement of this board that we actually swap out the head? That's something we can do. Unfortunately, they haven't been fired up yet, and we really don't know what we got. I do know that there has been no complaints, ever in the past with, I believe through the village, from my understanding, as well as some of the neighboring property owners. But then again,
If they're
person who owns
deemed
this stuff,
incompliant, then you're just gonna have to replace.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, what you have there is literally the picture that says inappropriate. The whole thing. It literally is, if you went out and took a picture of that, that's exactly what's in the design standards as inappropriate. So it's kind of hard to look at that and say, Oh, okay, we'll give it a pass because.
Truth be told, they're probably at the end of life anyways.
Yeah.
And the project we're doing, even if it wasn't a requirement,
But
knowing who I'm dealing with, they would probably be replaced.
But in all honesty, they're also ugly as sin.
They're very ugly.
So, you
They're
know, I
very,
think you
very
can
ugly.
property that way, but I see it as a requirement based on the design standards, but I think it's an intelligent one because they're really unattractive. I would say make it part of the approval for condition.
We can do that.
So what we're trying to accomplish on the backside is that the planning board's comments, condition or modifications, you can approve a site plan with modifications. The modifications you're asking for are shown on a revised site plan, along with the landscape plan that we've talked a lot about, added lighting details. One package gets submitted to staff. I review it, Mark reviews it, Jeff reviews it. And if it meets all of the standards, all of the conditions of your approval, then that's the final set that gets stamped approved, goes to the building department. Those are the plans. The ones you're reviewing tonight are not going to go to the building department because you've made changes to them. They've offered changes to them. So there'll be one more. It doesn't necessarily have to come back here unless it's not what you asked for. So that's why I would suggest, give us a revised site plan that shows all of their changes and additions. And then Mark and I and Carol will work with that. And if it doesn't meet everything, then we say we can't issue you. We can't stamp these approved. It's different than what we understand the planning board approved. Talk to the planning board.
Well, I would still set it as a condition that we replace the lights with compliant ones.
We would be willing.
Site light.
So what we can do then is, there's not a lot of changes I think that are gonna be going to the site level. What we will do is make sure that is in concert or respectful to a formal landscape plan that we're gonna submit as a separate document for confirmation that we are complying to everything talked about today or on this plan. It's just too busy and it's not presented properly. The landscape plan, and then if we're replacing it, I can actually do the lighting plan. And that can be submitted with a cut sheet of the replacement fixture. So those are enhancements to make sure that the planning department knows that we are following through on the wishes of this board.
Do you think they would need to come back with the landscape and lighting plan for us?
Not unless somebody's looking for something different than what they've seen on this drawings.
And
Well,
we
other
ask
than
you to be very
fixing the
specific.
site plan. Street light things in and all of that. I mean, I don't have that much affect about it as long as it meets.
So
the
as long as it
design
meets
standards.
criteria.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'm good. I'm good.
The landscape plan should also have notes, details on tree protection.
On what?
Tree protection, what we talked about before.
I'll make a motion for log 2025 PB 16S 5845 Main Street for site plan review. To approve as submitted with the following clarifications and modifications. That the applicant will submit revised site plans, separate landscape plans including existing tree protection plans, and site lighting plans with cut sheets. Replacement of the existing parking poles, lights. That the public amenity will include a bench to match the village's standard, placed on a concrete pad at the property line along the sidewalk in the area noted on the plan. That this approval does not include signage. That all internal sidewalks are to be 5 foot width and curved to separate cars from pedestrians. In accordance with section 112.16B 5C. That prior to the issuance of the final stamped approved plans, the site plan be revised to include a pedestrian path from the rear of the building to the right of way on pole in accordance to 112.16B 5B of village zoning. And it's an opportunity for the applicant to look at providing accessibility for the rear entrance.
So you want to connect to the public streets?
It's because I think it's an opportunity for accessibility to the rear entrance. Prior to issuance of the final stamped and approved plans, the comments of the building department provided in the review of November 7th, 2025. The village DPW superintendent in his review of November 7th, 2025, be addressed and reviewed by those officials.
Excuse me, Kate, we got another review from the building department?
Including building department correspondence dated
November 24th, which basically said the issues were resolved and it's approved.
November 24th, 2025. Prior to the issuance of final stamped approved plans, the project will comply with all professional engineering and staff member comments provided to date. That are of those employed by the village. Including the revised staff analysis report dated November 25th, 2025. Prior to issuance of the final stamped approved plans, the project will this just reiterates, the project will provide a production plan for the existing trees along pole with the state separately. And only move forward with the proposed pruning and deadwooding of the trees under the supervision of the village's DPW superintendent. The proposed west elevation includes new up-down lighting as submitted, but missing on the drawing in the locations
They're on the
identified
drawing.
to in text.
They're on the drawing and labeled, but for some reason they're not.
There's different numbers.
Yeah.
So they're in the locations identified by via text. That the material of the new windows be aluminum clad storefront systems with no tint on the glazing. for my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Everyone, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you all. Thank you. It's great to see the actual building owners that engaged. So that's refreshing.
I had to speak for Max, you would have talked all day about that. About this project. Very. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Okay, does anyone have any other issues to the order? Seeing none, a reminder that the next work session begins in January at 6:30 with the meeting to start at 7. This is a change from what we have been doing for the last several years. So we will meet again on Monday, January 5th, starting at 6:30 for work session. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Kate, was that the site plan and architectural plan?
Yeah.
We'll write it up as, so I gave you two voting blocks, just turn it into one. And I can help you tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah, just add S and A.
okay.
Thank you. And then we're done with the recording for tonight.
Oh, hold on.
Is this yours? I think it's yours.
Thank you for the talk, John.
All of that exists.
I was ready to pounce. I'm a new kid. I'll sit here.
Oh, boy. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah, I hope you feel better.
So do I. Been a long weekend.
And there's seen that.